Hey, welcome to the Travel Ones podcast. Today, my guest is Dita Von Teese. Dita is the most famous burlesque dancer in the world, and she has her upcoming New Year's Eve performance at the Orpheum Theatre here in Los Angeles. In addition to her performance art, she's also a New York Times best-selling author, model, businesswoman. You're quite the busy lady, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying that I feel a little bit like a pinball in a pinball machine bouncing from all my projects.
Well, you have your eyewear, your cardigan, your jewelry, perfume.
Yes.
Can't.
A lot of projects.
Exactly.
And showbiz, my very first favorite thing of all.
Exactly. And then, with your New Year's Eve performance coming up at the Orpheum, after that, you're going to be starting on the Glamorous tour back in Europe?
Yes, it's our 2020 dates for Europe and the UK. And so it's I'm eager to get that show on the road. And it feels like we've been waiting for a long time to get back into live performance. So I'm excited about the New Year's show and working on that a lot. And of course, touring again.
You know, I was going to say, knowing that anything can change, because obviously over the last 2 years, they have changed. How many days do you plan on being on the road next year?
Well, I just have this tour and it starts in February, and I believe it's like 10 weeks of touring. And I split it up between like 5 weeks and 4 weeks, or something like that. So, but that's the only plan right now. I haven't been able to book any other tours at the moment because it's very difficult. People are still trying to play catch up with what happened in 2020. So even my dates are all makeup dates that I am trying to do from the same time in 2020.
After 30 years in the business, is it weird for you to have, I mean, you didn't have a year off, but you ended up filling in with other projects.
Yes. It was a great, it was a time to like look at other things that I didn't want to really pay attention to, taking a break from live performance and really like honing in on all of the biz of show, which is, not as fun, but, looking at finances and doing all the things I'd been putting off and procrastinating on, and also just resting. I felt like I really needed a moment to slow down for a little while. And I didn't, like a lot of people were really into creating content and, figuring out other ways of being on social media and filming everything. And I kind of just took a step back and said, now's the time to kind of work on other things like, personal life things and just resting, just generally resting,
It was interesting because, I travel for my work, and everyone I talk to travels, and everyone's kind of felt the same way. It's like some of the musicians I talked to were like, man, they always wanted the break, but then when they got it, it was like, man, I want to get back on the road.
Yeah. I mean, I love traveling, and I said, I haven't been grounded for this long since I was in high school.
Yeah.
I've just always, and I've always been like that kind of stressful busyness, that's exciting, but you kind of can see how you feed off the stress of like, I'm too busy. So it's kind of, I just tried to look at the bright side of it and saying, okay, slow down, relax.
Well, slow down, relax. Let's go to France and
yes, right. And then as soon as I had the opportunity, last year I had during the pandemic, I was on The Masked Dancer in the UK, and I jumped at the chance. I mean, that was when you weren't allowed to travel unless you could prove that you needed to travel. And they said, "Listen, do you want to come do this show? It's top secret, all this stuff." And I was so eager to get on a plane. But also I said, well, listen, can I stay at Claridge's while I'm there? And I was one of like 5 guests for a solid month and a half. So it was really amazing to have, for people that don't know, like Claridge's is like this incredible hotel in London. And I had it all to myself. It felt like I was, in a movie where, very like 5 staff there and just like maybe a few guests. It was really, really fun to be out. And then, so I said yes to some things I normally might not have done because I never did any TV shows like that, like kind of those competition type shows. Yeah, and Dancing with the Stars. I always said no to Dancing with the Stars in the US in years before because I was afraid of getting injured because a lot of people I knew that went on it were getting hurt, and didn't want to get, I was afraid, but I was really excited to do it in France, and no regrets about that at all. And I did not get injured, thank goodness.
Woo-hoo. That's one of the things I was going to ask you about is, your performance show revolves around you. And so how do you prevent getting sick and prevent getting injured? Because if you go down, the ship goes down.
Yeah. Well, when you're leading up one of these big tours, and I'm responsible for the whole tour, I produce the show, I direct the show, I'm performing in the show alongside a cast that I've curated. When you are kind of in charge like that, you don't have a lot of free time. So I find that, everybody else would be having fun and having like, we're going to go for a drink after the show, or we're going to do something fun. And I would meanwhile be in the hotel room, like watching the video of the show and making critiques and changes and like, making notes about what I thought could be better. So I don't know. It's a little bit like, it's not really, I feel like I just kind of stick to my own thing, which is the work, instead of the social part of it. So I think that's one way, like kind of staying in my own lane, but because for the sake of the show mostly. But I was also one of those people, and there's many people on my tour that were that way. We were Lysoling our seats down in 2018, on tour, always doing that, when you become hyper conscientious of like how it feels when you're trying to perform and you're sick. So I'm like an incessant hand washer, and, I've always been diligent like that, like trying so hard to stay well because it takes the fun out of performing when you have to do it, because you have to do it. The last time I was sick, from while I was on tour, I actually had a vertigo issue. I got like this thing where the crystals come loose in your ear, and it causes severe dizziness. And so that was like a time where I had to perform with vertigo. Like I asked my insurance company, like, what do I do if I can't go on stage tonight? And they were like, well, it's probably going to cost you about, $90,000. And so then you quickly figure out how you're going to get on stage.
Vertigo's not that bad.
Oh, God. Terrible. Terrible.
If it was 10 grand, maybe, but not 90.
I was basically like, oh, I have to do this. And I did it. I try to stay well. It's really hard. I had actually had COVID when I landed in Paris to do Dancing with the Stars. I came down with breakthrough COVID. And so I had, where everyone else had 2 weeks to prepare their first dance, I had 5 days when I was finally in the clear. And of course, I just felt like I had, allergies. And I was like, I'm well enough to work, but obviously you can't. So there's that, things like you just work around it. I tried to learn some of the dance moves via Zoom, but it didn't work at all. And my dance partner was freaking out. But, I just knew when I was cleared and I was, negative, I just worked really hard and made it happen. So it is what it is.
It is. One of the things I was curious to on the business side is because your sets are one-offs, your costumes are very haute couture. Do you ever worry about, or have you ever lost a set or broken something?
Gosh. Yeah. I mean, I have lots of things, traveling the world with these big props and these costumes, there's all kinds of dramas that come with it. I had this jeweled carousel horse that got lost somewhere in London. And that was maybe, like 15 or so years ago. And, I just made another one, and I said to myself, I'm going to just make a better one. How do we make this better? And that's what we did. It was really a bummer because it was a beautiful piece that appeared in my Playboy cover story. And who knows where that is? I don't know. You do your best to ensure and track all these things. But we just say, okay, easy come, easy go. Let's make something better.
But
and with the costume,
your lip tease,
with the costumes, the thing is, one of the biggest issue of the costumes is actually traveling with them, a lot of times you have to prove where they were made, because I would fly back into the country with my costume, and, you know, some of them weigh like 40, 50 pounds, and they travel in these like road cases and stuff, and they're covered in Swarovski crystal. They're very valuable. But I've had things where they've seized my costume because they want me to prove where it was made.
Yeah.
And then they want money to prove where it was made. So there's all kinds of things like with traveling with these things that become complicated. You have to travel with, you know, when you go into Australia, you have to have like all the scientific names and origin of all the feathers and prove that, you know, they're okay. So there's a lot of stuff that we've learned along the way.
It's amazing though what you have to go through, right? Because you think, I'm just, people go to your show and they're like, oh my God, it's just beautiful. And without knowing all the things that.
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes what happens is people sit in the theater and they go, wow, there's 3,000 people here. And they start trying to do some math on how much money is generated. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, that's cool that you just did that basic math. But first of all, this night cost $80,000 to produce. Secondly, the insurance involved in touring a show like this. And it's just me doing it. So a lot of people don't realize, like, I've done tours for like 6 weeks where at the end of it, I ended up with maybe $4,000 profit for myself after I paid everybody and paid all the expenses. So it's not as easy to do as it seems.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just, I love how you call it the basic math.
Yeah. You know, I see people do that all the time. They'll do it like at any music thing and try to guess how much money was made that night. And it's like, that's not how much money was made this night.
It would be great if it was just you and you just showed up and did your thing and that was it.
Yeah. You know who's really lucky? I always think when I watch like comedians, like stand-up comics, and they're doing those same theaters that I do, only they're not traveling with like 30 people and have these sets and like all these dancers. And you just think, wow, they're killing it.
We'll get you into comedy next, maybe.
Yeah, something. I don't think so. You've done that funny, but
The Masked Dancer. You've done Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
If we get locked down again, we'll have to do something.
But that's a fun example of like when you step into somebody else's show and you don't have to worry about all the logistics. That's one thing I love is, you know, it's fun. And I think a lot of performers see the value in being a hired performer rather than the producer.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds fun before you have to do it all.
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you maintain any Pilates regimen when you go out on the road?
You know, I used to really try, and I do, you know, I do a warm up and a quick workout before the show every night.
Do you have a reformer or just do mat?
Yeah, no, just mat. Yeah, okay. I have a reformer at home that I pulled out of my storage because I was like, I'm not using this at home because I'm not very disciplined when it comes to my workouts. I need to, you know, I like to work out with friends or with a trainer. I'm not good with like having a workout by myself now. It's going to be great. I hate it. So I did have my reformer in my house during the pandemic, and right now it's collecting dust, but yeah, on tour, I don't bring my reformer because, you know, I kind of just focus on the dancing and warming up for the shows. And I feel like I'm not obsessive. I like to stay strong and feel strong, but I'm not obsessive about like, if I don't work out, I'm not going to look good. I just want to feel strong. So the show does help with that. And being like warming up before the show helps a lot too.
Well, I had to ask, my wife's a Pilates instructor, so.
I see.
I figured.
Yeah. In my dreams, I'm traveling with my reformer and somebody's helping me train, but you know, then you're exhausted.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, a couple more questions. How do you handle your work-life balances? Meaning, you know, like I've missed my daughter's birthdays because I've been on the road. I've missed other events, my parents' birthdays and anniversaries. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've kind of been, you know, listen, things are always going to suffer. And I've always said that. It's like, yes, my personal life, my romantic life, things like that will suffer for the sake of show business because I can't help it. You know, I was already like looking at my January schedule thinking, I think I'd like to go to Hawaii or I'd like to go to Tulum. I'm going to go do this like fun thing that's just for me. And then then somebody calls and says, there's this job. And I go, oh, fun, let's go. You know, it's because I like my work. So I can't help it. I always feel like grateful that I have this strange career that I never could have anticipated would take me around the world or make me, you know, known. So I feel like I don't, you know, every gig counts, you know, I mean, it's not like I do every gig, but you know, just,
sure.
I love working because it's fun. I love traveling.
You have a great life.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. So but I do. And I always think, okay, there'll be time. If you work really hard right now, there'll be time for fun and vacations, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think like later. I know it's not great, but
I'm
think
the same boat.
Yeah.
My wife
really,
and I we had our first trip planned to Japan, April of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And, the world got shut down in March. And so we were like, I had both my daughters and their boyfriend and husband, planning to meet us there. So it was hard scheduling all those people.
Oh,
you know, it got shot down. So we're just waiting again.
Yeah, hopefully. I feel like things are getting easier all the time, although we're trying to navigate all of the travel restrictions across Europe and figure out what we need to do for each country.
I'm curious also, do you remember what it was like to travel pre-cell phone, smartphones?
Gosh, nobody's ever asked me that. Let's see. I hadn't thought about that in a long time, but I definitely traveled then.
Yeah.
I think I missed a lot of airplanes.
Exactly.
I feel like I was always like, oh, I have to go home and I missed my flight. I got to go home and figure it out or what, you know. But no, I mean, there's a lot of things like that. I have not thought about that, but it didn't seem like nothing comes to mind about like, oh, remember how hard it was because we didn't know any differently, right?
Sure.
Right.
But that's what I'm saying. Imagine now, travel to Europe without your phone.
I can't even imagine, like, there's so many things I can't imagine. I mean, I've had a cell phone for a long time now, I guess, but wow. Yeah. It's hard to imagine. I don't know how anybody would do it. I don't even know how you do it.
I accidentally left my phone in my wife's car when I flew to Denver.
Oh.
And all of a sudden it was like, oh, how am I going to get
how
am I going to get to the hotel?
Right. The Uber thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of it. So just interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of like a fun, it would be not fun isn't the right word, but a challenge. Like, see how that is. Like, maybe that's a reality show someone could have is like,
there you go.
Sending people places without their technology. And
especially like millennials.
Especially people that don't know any differently. Like, try to go deliver this bouquet of flowers to this address. Here's your Thomas Guide.
And here's a map.
Good luck. Yeah.
Here's a Thomas Guide map book.
Yeah. Good luck with that. See what happens. It's like a competition show.
I'll let you produce that one with all your free time.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. Yeah. See how much revenue is generated from that idea.
Yeah, exactly. Versus the time. I have a question. I feel pretty confident you've never been asked.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Why do you think so many successful performers came out of the university high school era that you were there?
Well, let's see. I only know of like Will Ferrell. Who else?
How about the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine?
Oh, of course. I forgot about him, right? No, that's true. That's true. I mean, that's pretty cool. I always say, I kind of, when sometimes people make fun of Orange County when they think about the show like the OC or something. And I say, no, guys,
that was filmed
Orange
in Redondo
County
Beach.
was cool. Yeah. Orange County was cool. And a lot of cool bands came out of Orange County, and the rockabilly scene was raging there more than anywhere. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes when people make fun of Orange County, they just don't know enough about what a big deal it was for rockabilly culture. The swing dance movement started down there with Disneyland and the Disney dancers and performers, and Gwen Stefani, Green Day. I don't have to tell you, but I mean, Orange County has its positives and negatives for sure. But my Orange County that I grew up in, I feel like really grateful for that experience.
I think it was interesting because, well, my first car was a 62 Ford Galaxy convertible.
Ah, nice.
And so, and it wasn't because it was cool back then. It was because my dad said, "This is the car you get. It doesn't run. If you want to drive when you turn 16, fix it." I was like, okay.
Right.
But when you start driving around that car, I used to go to the Labor Day cruise and some of the car shows, and then you go to some of the Billy parties and meet people and all that. Mm-hmm. So I was just curious why, like university with Turtle Rock wasn't exactly the mean streets of Turtle Rock.
Right.
But,
no.
But you had a lot of great things come out of there.
I know. I don't really know why. I mean, I think like for me, I thought it was a great high school because like the focus was also, it wasn't like a performing arts kind of school or anything, but the water polo players were like the star football players.
Yeah.
And it was a little more like a cool surfer crowd. I don't know. I think and kind of like the balance between, it wasn't really affluent, but middle class, right? Yeah. I don't know.
Probably upper middle class.
Yeah. Right. I actually went to I went there by choice. I went to a different junior high school. I should have gone to Woodbridge High School, but I was like, I want to go to University High School. I want a fresh start with new people.
Well, that's funny because I lived in Woodbridge, but went to Irvine High. Oh,
really? Right. I lived in the Woodbridge area too for a while actually, and decided to go to university. My older sister went to school there too, so that was probably one reason.
Just sucked your head in.
Yeah. Well, a long time ago now.
Tell me about it. I'm older than you. That was forever ago. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Sorry it took me so long to get it together and do this podcast, but it's nice talking to you. That's what
we do.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time. I work for Stetson, and
is that right?
And so I sell cowboy boots and jeans, and I was just at the rodeo in Vegas for 2 weeks.
Nice.
And so I travel throughout California and Hawaii as my territory.
Oh, see, I'm trying to go to Hawaii for the first time ever. So if you have any suggestions.
Wow.
I've never been. I know. It's I feel like I want to take a few days and go before my tour. And I don't really know what to do in Hawaii. I always fantasize about old vintage Hawaii, but I don't know if that exists.
I'm not going to ruin it for you.
Right.
Kauai would be good.
Yeah.
Or Maui.
Okay, that's what I've heard too. Same 2 suggestions so far. I've been looking for houses to rent in those areas. So
yeah, Princeville on Kauai is nice. It's beautiful. And that's where they filmed Jurassic Park. So it's the lush.
Oh, I see.
It's Emerald Island, but it's Oahu sounds cool, kind of for that vintage tiki kind of, but it's not. It's
not. Okay,
it's like LA.
Right.
Honolulu is really packed.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. It sounds great, but it's like a big city.
Yeah, it's just high rises.
That's not
everywhere.
what I want.
The Big Island's nice, but it's you've got the 2 different sides. You can go skiing on the Big Island. They just had a snowstorm there.
Is that right?
Yeah, on the.
That's cool.
So they had snowblowers and all that going on.
And where's the other place you say you go a lot?
Maui.
But besides Hawaii, what was the other thing you said?
What's that?
You go to Hawaii and somewhere else a lot.
Well, I have all of California and then Hawaii. That's where I travel for work. Okay. So you'll be set. You've never been to Hawaii?
No, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Of all the places I've been, it's I need to do it.
Yeah, that's very.
I love a tropical holiday, but I'm usually, I don't know, some reason I always ended up Maldives and Thailand and, places like that. I think because I was living in Paris and also I would get offers to come and do photo shoots in the Maldives at a resort or something. So,
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could set up a photo shoot in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Get some tiki. Get some tiki.
teach some striptease classes out at a spa or something. That would be fun.
And today's guest teacher.
Yep. Hey, I did that at like this spa called Canyon Ranch in Arizona, and it was really funny. It was just like, teaching striptease to like 75 women in a class. It was really funny, really fun.
How'd that go?
It was fun. It was really like, yeah.
Really were they into
I
it?
like doing it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like they were totally into it. I mean, it was sort of like you had a mix of people that were fans and knew I was going to be there.
Oh, okay,
and then people that had never heard of me before, but they were super excited about it. So it was fun. I met a lot of interesting people.
Well, that's what I think is interesting too, is even with like my show, like I was just at the rodeo and people were like, "Oh, so how's your show going?" And this and that. And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hoping to interview Dita Von Teese soon." They're like, "Who?"
Yeah,
like,
it's a little bit like one or the other. It's like it's neat. I'm niche, but
yeah. But in my world, because like my wife went to Viva, I think
Viva
12 years in a row.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that she's a pinup. We go to pinup stuff and all that. But,
okay.
So it was just interesting. It's like,
yeah, it depends on who it is. Like,
yeah, and that's. Do you find that social media has helped you reach more people that way?
For sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've always been with, I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like sometimes if people don't know me and they're like, "Are you famous or something?" I'm like, well, I mean, that's kind of like a hard question to answer. Like, yeah. I am, but right now I'm not, because you've never heard of me. So I'm just a person doing
Apparently
something that some people have heard of and some people have not,
Yep.
And I'm definitely, in different countries and in different circles, like fashion people know me, pinup world and burlesque, all that stuff. A lot of gay men know me, drag queen fans of drag queens and drag queens, French people,
pinup,
people
makeup.
in France and and also like in France and in like the UK, I'm on like your regular primetime TV talking about burlesque or performing burlesque. And so people, I get, it's in America that people, I don't get as much mainstream media attention, but I have a big social media following in the US. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It's kind of all over the place. And I feel like I just don't take it too seriously. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I just keep doing what I'm doing. Keep selling out theaters. That's what matters.
Are you gonna be at Crazy Horse again?
I don't know. I mean, I feel they just redid it. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it's, for me, run its course to be there. I've been there a lot of times in the last 20 years. And it just feels a little like, I don't know if I want to. I love doing my show on big stages because it gives me a lot more that I can do. Like for New Year's Eve, I have a 14-piece big band, and I'm doing this big ballroom dance thing with striptease, and I've done magic, and I just kind of love doing these big things. It really becomes more evolved and exciting. Whereas the Crazy Horse is like a tiny little stage. And it has its own magic, but it's limiting, very limiting.
My niece saw you perform there. She's a dancer at Lido.
Okay, yeah. Well, Lido's fabulous too. But yeah, I mean, I love being in Paris and performing in Paris. I would love to maybe do a residency at one of the big theaters. Would be fun for a change. Cool. I just feel like it's an evolution, and I feel a little bit like, I've done some really cool things with technology at the Crazy Horse, and I love that. But sometimes it just feels like there needs to be like an idea that'll make it really, like, to me, enticing, because it's taking something to the next level. But I just don't want to stick to what I've been doing. I want to do something different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I know you have Marawa.
Yes.
Performing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited to have a roller skater out there? I know you're.
I mean, she's so amazing.
She's incredible.
She's the Guinness Book of World Records holder for hula hooping too. but she's great. She's really fun. She was in my streaming special, and she's there every year because she just brings the house down, and she loves doing my show, and we have a lot of fun with her. Yeah.
That's all the kind of fun stuff you get to incorporate.
Yeah. I mean, I love producing the show because I love, looking for talent, putting together a lineup that feels, like everybody's a little bit different, everyone's different. It's not a girly show. I love putting on a show that has just as many men in it as women, and feels really like, like everyone walks away feeling like they've had their minds changed about what burlesque is.
I think that's key, because it's hard to, like you said, it's hard to describe. My wife took me to my first burlesque at Viva, and I was like, okay.
Yeah. That's what I love too. It's one of my favorite things, is like that story of like, my wife took me to a burlesque show. That's what we want, is for women to feel empowered and in control, and being like, I want to see a burlesque show, instead of saying like, it'd be weird if, I think it's what I love about this time versus, the past, which is like a man maybe going, why don't we go to a burlesque show and see some naked ladies? Like, it's so different now.
It's not really like,
and it's great. It's great to see women like embracing or finding a place where they are comfortable indulging in sensuality and eroticism, and feeling like there's lots of representation, and, just as many men in the show as women. So that's what I strive to have, is like an equal balance of that.
Make it for everybody.
Genders. Yeah. I
totally appreciate that. Yeah. So what's the best way for my listeners to follow up with you and see what you have coming up? Is it just through social media?
Social media is the best place to start, because I have all the links to all the tickets for all the shows. And I'm always talking about new projects there. So I'm mostly active on Instagram, and it's at Dita Von Teese, and my name is spelled with the Teese.
Now you do it. You're not going to make that mistake again, are you?
No, I mean, I never really, if I had to do it all again, I would have made it much simpler, but hey,
it is what it
is. Yep. Whoa. I've said that twice now, haven't I? But yeah, like social media with all my links to tickets and whatnot.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to include all the links on my pages as well. So
thank you.
The listeners can just tap right through you.
Very good.
Appreciate the time, Dita.
All right. Thank you very much. Nice talking to you.
Okay.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.